there is some hidden secret about affirmation. And once you know that, then you will have really more choice around whether to use them or whether to use this secret to perhaps extract something interesting from them. I am not here to tell you that you shouldn't be using affirmations, that you shouldn't be believing in affirmations. If you're like most people, affirmations are great. They make you feel great. They make you feel inspired. Then they also give you hope about something. Why do affirmations essentially don't work? Even though, as I said, temporarily they really make us feel better. And sometimes we just need that boost. We just feel we can't even get out of the bed. And if that's what happens, you use affirmations, whether you listen to them or just giving it to yourself. Really, there is no problem with it at all. But now let's look at it from a different perspective. And just look in your life and see, perhaps you're a man or a woman or something that you know strongly that is true for you beyond shadow of doubt. So for example, you think you're a woman, and imagine that you would wake up in the morning, go to the mirror and tell yourself, I am a woman. I am a woman. I am a woman. Doesn't it seem like that we're actually trying to convince ourselves about something? When you really know something beyond shadow of doubt and you know it's true, you don't need to convince yourself about it. So affirmations usually are stories that we try to convince ourselves about something that is actually not true deeply for us. And it can work temporarily. We try to change the beliefs. We try to just feel better. We try to inspire ourselves. However, when we find ourselves that we are convincing ourselves about that, and it can really just happen in our head, in our thinking, giving ourselves this like pumping up, cheerleading affirmations. Again, there is no problem with that, except it's just disconnected from truth. And sometimes on the other side of that affirmation is this sneaky tyrant that actually can tell us the opposite. And that's actually the one that we're trying to escape from. That voice that is actually deeply inside telling us that is not true, that perhaps we are not good enough, or maybe I'm not a woman enough, or whatever it is. And that's why it's interesting to see what kind of affirmations we like, what kind of affirmations we like to use. And again, really, there is nothing wrong with using them, but it is interesting to simply see which ones resonate with us, because it's something that we're trying to convince ourselves about. And we try to convince ourselves about something that is not true, because deeply we believe something else. And it's really interesting to look what that first initial belief really is. It's usually the very opposite of that affirmation. It's usually when we put extra affirmation on top of it. It's like just putting something on top. But in time, when things don't go well, or when expectations are not met the way you want it, or we lose something or somebody, guess what? It just flips like this. So instead of this cheerleader, the voice of the cheerleader in our head that can be very inspiring and very positive, it turns into this critical tyrant that tells us the opposite. And until we are ready to really question the stories and completely dismantle the false identities that try to convince about something that's simply not true, then we live in this duality when it's just a question of time, when something happens and we are back into this overthinking and really tyrannizing ourselves in our head about something that is not true. And so what happens when this self-image is collapsed, when we are out of duality, out of good and bad, out of any duality, fair and unfair, better and worse, superior and inferior. When we are without that, when we simply recognize what reality is in what is, it feels so free. There is nothing to do and nothing is required, because we are completely just connected to what is. Suddenly all these opportunities become available, and really we don't have the need to do anything about it. But when I say we don't have the need to change anything or to fix or to do anything about it, it doesn't mean that we just like stay there and don't do anything and our life becomes boring. It simply means that there is no need in our thinking, this effort, trying to do something, trying to control these situations in our lives, or trying to improve ourselves, or trying to get into this better future. That need is not there. In reality, it's simply recognized that we already have everything. Everything is available. There is these gifts suddenly become available to us, and we simply don't have thoughts about, if I had maybe some bad self-image about my body, or just thinking about something constantly, how bad it is. It's just not there. It doesn't mean that suddenly I'll start thinking, oh, how good it is. Those thoughts are simply not there. And it's really liberating. It's just like just being without any thoughts. So you can refocus on that really matters. And you still have some inspiring thoughts, of course. They never stop. They keep going. But those attacking thoughts that tell you, that are connected to that self-image, to that false identity, it's just like goes quiet. And it just doesn't come up. And I know this is a deep work, and most people choose to do affirmations and to live in this duality, oscillating between high excitement and dopamine, and then just feeling really low and disappointed and depressed, and just self-hatering and distracting from those thoughts, which can be very painful. It's also another way. And then another way is to simply look and start recognizing and start awakening to your true nature. When I ask people, would you rather have the perfect body, the perfect healthy body, or would you rather have never have bad thoughts or negative thoughts about your body? Most people would say, no, I want to have the perfect healthy body. That's what they want. That's where the money is. That's where they're willing to spend a lot of money to get there. Because you can't even imagine what it feels like not having those bad thoughts about your body or health. It's just feels so liberating because you're free to move and to do whatever you want. That's really at the essence underneath that. And perhaps you can ask someone who has the perfect health and perfect body, and they still have those attacking thoughts, because anytime when you do have something, or when you do achieve something that is supposed to bring you happiness or comfort, it's only question of time when these new thoughts come up and tell you, hey, but what if you lose it? Now you have it. What if you lose it? And that's not perfect. And then you start comparing yourself to somebody else or something else that's even better. Or if you run out of all of these people who are better than you, you start comparing yourself to the past image of yourself. So there is really no way out. There is really no way out. The only way is through and into reality, into really recognizing that the only way that's in the way of simply being with what is, and simply being without trying to control yourself or trying to convince yourself about something, is to see that the false identity that lives in the completely imaginary and deceptive story timeline, as I call it, is just illusionary. Let me know what you think in the comments. Perhaps you have some ideas about affirmations that I haven't covered, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next video.